Segler.
Yes.
Mr. Francis.
No on the tennis court.
Mr. Hippo. Mr. Hoover.
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Brennan.
Yes.
5-4 against the tennis courts. Unanimous on the other.
Wait, no.
5-4 for the tennis court.
I'm sorry, I said backwards.
Ron was a no.
Oh, Ron was a no. Right.
So the tennis courts get one more coating on there, is that correct?
They're gonna finish the surface and basically finish the job this spring.
Alrighty,
I'd like to make a motion on something.
fire away.
I'd like the motion that we start all meetings on time. If we have an executive session that's gonna run late, I think that we should go back to it after the meeting. We have people sit here, taxpayers come in and wait for the meeting to start, employees who would love to go home. Just because we run late in executive session, I'd rather see us come down, have the meeting and finish the executive session after the meeting starts. I mean, I would like all meetings to start on time, but mainly the board meeting to start on time. So I motion that.
Second.
Mr. Francis seconds it. Comments or questions or discussion?
Is there any legal aspect to doing that?
Just means if you're the throes of something, you have to be here by the start of 7 o'clock.
I'm cool with that.
Or whatever. We have a week to see how much more it is.
And it's stuff like that.
But then there's no.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't an issue with us going into executive session after the meeting.
We've done that
You
before.
can do that, and of course, if it's action to be taken, you would say it won't be back, or no action to be taken, we won't do that.
Because, I mean, we have, people filming, students filming who would like to go home. I just think that we should start on time, and if we're not done with the executive session, go to it afterwards.
I agree. Out of respect for the people who show up to hear what's going on here, I think we should be on time.
Alright. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Alright, we have some more information only items. Any comments or questions? I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Hippo.
That was an add-on agenda item for the month.
Yes. You're absolutely right. So, can we just go ahead and go back and do that? Public comment on it? Okay, would anybody like to comment on that particular add-on agenda item?
What's the item?
It's starting on time.
I second
All right, so we have to technically revote again. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Comments or questions about the information only items? Employee unions response? I'm not seeing anyone. Middle management? And solicitor.
Just I'll be here on February 15th for in service, and then in March going down to NSBA in Philadelphia, and presenting on the topic of dealing with difficult, dangerous students for school board members all across the United States. Last time we had about 340. Hoping to get the same amount of number.
Thank you, sir. All right, motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, gentlemen.
That's all.
Right.
Did you turn both?
I believe we turned everything.
It was red a second ago when he pushed the button. I can see it red. There, it's on.
There it is. Hello? Oh, there we
got it.
Okay,
say, I
this is
checked
a meeting
it.
of the Altoona Area School Board. Please stand for a moment of silence and all of our votes.
Oh, you're right.
Pledge allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Green. Here. Mr. Brennan.
Here.
Mr. Segler.
Here.
Mr. Hippo. Mr. Johnston.
Here.
Mr. Francis.
Here.
Mr. Cruz.
Here.
Mr. Hoover.
Here.
Mrs. Irwin Adams.
Here.
All right, I need to announce executive sessions. We just had an executive session for the purpose of personnel and the informational bit about a lease. We had an executive session on February 22nd in the middle of our committee of the whole meeting. It was for the purpose of personnel. I'm sorry, January 22nd for the purpose of personnel. Thank you, guys. And with that, we'll move on to special presentations. So, yep, Title I Distinguished School.
Good evening. Welcome. If you haven't noticed, we are recognizing Juniata Gap Elementary School. You can notice by the banner, the Keystone Award for Academic Excellence. Each year, the Division of Federal Programs honors the top performing Title I schools in Pennsylvania. Distinguished schools are designated either high achievement or high progress. We're honored to announce Juniata Gap Elementary was selected as a Title I High Progress Distinguished School. High Progress schools are the highest 5% based on a composite of the Math and English Language Arts Pennsylvania Value Added Assessment indices for the schools. These schools also met participation and graduation and/or attendance annual measurable objectives. This year, there were 158 Title I schools named Distinguished Schools and recognized at the 2019 Title I Improving Schools Performance Conference. Both past principal, Rich Adams, and current principal, Tricia Rosas, along with the team from Juniata Gap, attended that conference and presented there as well. So we are proud to recognize Juniata Gap as a Title I Distinguished School, and then we have several other staff members here in the audience this evening. And we want to congratulate the faculty and staff for the dedication and commitment. So the school was given the Keystone, which is part of that banner, to hang in the school. They'll also have the banner, and each staff member, because it's a combined effort of everyone within that school, that this award is attributed to, will receive a star pin that they can wear on their lanyard. So with that, I want to introduce Mr. Rich Adams, and then he'll go from there.
Good evening, Will. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to come up here and congratulate these men and women who have worked really, really hard for the students at Juniata Gap. And as we know, Juniata Gap is bursting at the seams with 700 students. But what an accomplishment we have done, or they have done, with the students there at the school. It was truly an honor to be part and to be working with each and every one. Many of the days as we were trying to pull our hair out and try to best meet the needs of our students, it was also a lot of laughs and smiles, and when we had those aha moments with the kids, it was truly exciting. So I just want to say that it was really an honor to work with all of you. Really, really proud. When we were at the conference in Pittsburgh, these smiles that we had, it was neat to hear Juniata Gap and getting up in front of everybody and taking our picture, and we got Mr. Allender in there in the picture, which was a shocker right there behind us. But it was just a lot of hard work went into that award, and it's just really, really proud. I'm going to bring up Mrs. Rosas.
Good evening. So obviously I walked into the perfect situation because I get to join this awesome staff. So I'm just grateful to be a part of that, and I'm excited for where we're going to go as a building from here forward. I also wanted to say thank you for allowing us to attend the conference. We were able to present a session to the participants on our Tinker Tuesday nights. They are an event that happens every month here in elementary school. One evening a month, students and their parents come in, they get to play in our makerspace, test out items from our STEM lending library, and also do some challenge sessions. And it was really cool to share that. I think because we don't realize that we're doing really awesome things here, and we assume everyone's doing them. And it was awesome to have them come up and ask us questions and want to hear things we're doing here in Altoona. We heard them commenting on it in future sessions. It was just a really cool experience, so I appreciate that. I was excited to be able to take a team of teachers with me. I think it was really valuable for them, and so I'm going to ask Megan Birchfield to come up and share a little bit from a teacher's point of view as well.
Good evening. I want to start by thanking the school board and administration for allowing myself and my colleagues to go to the conference. It was a truly rewarding experience. One, to get to represent Juniata Gap for the honor. Two, to present to educators and administrators from all over the state about something that we are doing at Juniata Gap, and to hear such positive and encouraging feedback, and to get to brag about ourselves, I think was really an amazing experience. Some of the things that we will walk away with are things that we can bring back to our classrooms and share with our learning community here in Altoona. We did a lot of STEM sessions. We built rockets, we built snowman traps, and we were a little competitive with each other. And I did beat both principals in a trivia game, I do have to say that. And I won a tree. But we also looked at the importance of academic vocabulary and learning from teachers from other high-achieving schools and the strategies that they're using in their classroom, which we can then bring back to our classrooms. So thank you again for the opportunity to go and learn from our peers. It was a very, very rewarding and valuable experience.
Hearing from citizens, citizen would like to speak. Oh, yeah, by all means, we can do that. Could all the Juniata Gap staff members please stand up?
I'm here representing the Altoona Area Public Library. I wanted to thank Mrs. Foreman for her work last month with coordinating the nice donation of books to the library that had honorarium plaques in honor of all of your service to the school board, and thank you for that. Placed a couple of things at your desk this evening. One is the February calendar of events. Flip side of that is the teen and adult, and then the children's programming is on the other side. And basket bingo is coming up March 17th. If anybody needs tickets, let me know. Last year we cleared about $20,000 in profit from this. It's our largest fundraiser annually for the library. And if anybody has any questions about that, I can answer them. The last thing I want to talk about is the little half sheet page that's advertising our new ebook platform. Every year when we relook at the contracts that we hold with our service vendors, we found that the platform we were using to access ebooks was getting rather costly. And so we've moved to a new product as of January 31st. It's called Cloud Library. It's a free app that you can download it on the Apple iStore or the Play Store if you have an Android. It enables us to resource share our ebook collection with Adams County and Bucks County, giving us access to about 20,000 ebooks and e-audiobooks. And that's at a cost savings of about a 50% reduction in our fees over what we were paying before. So really, really nice app. I encourage you to look at it if you like to read on any kind of devices or things. There's a lot of selection there. And if anybody would like a tour of the library, I would be happy to show you around. I ask every month, and I hope that somebody takes me up on it one of these days. Just give me a call, and I'd be happy to show you around the library and give you a tour. Thank you.
And you just need a library card in order to hop onto that.
Yep.
Kelly Williams, 2702 Maple Avenue. We're having an event We tried to get it here at the high school, but there was a scheduling conflict. But these guys were all given an invitation to come. Over the summer, in July, some of the administration, I think there was like 22 principals and such, and the superintendents, this isn't gonna be any easier even still. They came to our event over the summer. It was very, I think, rewarding for everyone who came to be able to hear Tommy's story. Tommy's a 16-year-old and he's a survivor of sexual assault. And anytime you open up the newspaper here in Altoona or anywhere, you're seeing more and more where kids are coming forward. I think I already said he's a student here, but we wanted to give you guys an invite. We're actually going to have Sarah Klein there also. She is one of Dr. Larry Nassar's survivors from the Michigan State issue up there. Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm really bad at this, but you guys are all invited if you want to come. It's a completely free event. The only thing is, like, you have to be 16 because of the content. But thank you guys for your support, and the district, like, you guys do amazing things for us, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Anybody else? All right, seeing none, we'll close up the hearing from citizens and move on to board reports. Dr. Drayton.
Just one item. There will be an athletic council meeting on the 26th of February. It's Tuesday at 6 o'clock in the boardroom. That will be for the purpose of winter sports, and also to get an update on the process for interviewing for and selecting a football coach. So we have closed the application process for the football coach. We'll be interviewing hopefully next week, and we will make a presentation of a recommendation to the athletic council on the 26th. Thank you.
That moves on to board president's report. I don't have anything this evening. We'll move on to athletic council. Mr. Kimmel.
I believe Dr. Greenfield covered that.
I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add. Central Blair Rec.
I was announced again at the annual dinner, was February 23rd. The featured speaker, Brooke Dwyer, who I'm told is considered one of the best speakers they had in the past. And anyone interested, there's still plenty of tickets left. It's fundraising for the organization, and hopefully everyone will be able to support it.
Thank you, Mr. Hippo. We'll move on to education. Mr. O'Connors.
We have an education meeting on January 22nd before our committee of the whole. So just a few things since then. The third annual book blizzard was held at for each of the elementary schools last Tuesday. It was well attended, and the event raised $4,237 for teacher libraries. There were guest readers, crafts, music presentations, art displays, obstacle courses, etc., Lego challenges. The administrative team is reviewing the professional learning survey to begin planning for the summer professional learning and in-service training, and teams are beginning to form for reviewing and revising curriculum maps this summer.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll go ahead and move on to facilities with Mr. Sullivan.
At the last facility meeting, we talked about roof repairs. We had some wind damage to the junior high and Penn Lincoln. We also talked about converting some of the heating systems over from an air-activated system to electronic. We talked about putting electronic locks on an area over at the junior high for letting people in like we do at the elementary schools. And our next meeting is February the 14th.
Thank you, sir. Moving on to IUA.
All right, IUA. It's been a rough couple months for the IUA. They had to cancel this time due to the cold, so we're going to have a meeting this month. I'll report back after this month. And keeping it with me, outreach. I was very pleased. We had a meeting with the Kiwanis Club, the El Dorado Kiwanis Club. There was about 10 people there. They fed us. We sat down and had a very informal conversation, and it was extremely informative. At the end of it, I had several people who attended the meeting reach out to me again and tell me how good it was that we were actually able to sit down and have an interaction with the community. And one of the funniest things was a couple of the people after the meeting came up to me and said they had no idea that the B building was as old as it was. So I thought that was curious. Very good. I'm very glad to do that, and I want to thank Mr. Segler for his connections on that, setting it up. And once again, I'm working in the process of getting together with the student rep, and I'm going to talk to her so we can sit down with the students. And that's all for outreach.
Thank you, sir. PSBA.
Yes, today's policy report is Tom Wolf's education budget. In 2018, the state budget was done in a week early with no tax increases, and the state ended up with money left over to make a $22 million deposit into the rainy day fund. Last year's budget spent $32.7 billion, and that's a 2.2% increase over the prior year. Key aspects of the governor's proposal this year will focus on career training and education. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnston. Policy.
There'll be a policy meeting tomorrow at 10 o'clock, right here.
Thank you. Public library, I will just would default to Mrs. Nicely's comments. And then we'll move on to technology. Mr. Hippo.
We held our technology committee meeting last Friday at 3 o'clock. Speaking with the right attached, certainly attached the summary of that meeting. We have a provision on kind of the hardware purchases that we're trying to do for the high school. Beyond that, everybody can read the summary and ask any questions they have.
Thank you, Mr. Hippo. We'll move on to our student representative, Ms. Wilson.
Okay, so the high school's Winter Red Cross Blood Drive, which was originally supposed to be held last Thursday, is going to be rescheduled for this Wednesday. Rehearsals are currently underway for the spring musical Little Shop of Horrors, which will be performed in early April. As Valentine's Day approaches, FBLA, which is Future Business Leaders of America, and Girls League will be holding fundraisers in which they'll sell carnations and snacks with Valentine's Day themed puns on them. They'll be selling snacks and flowers, as I said, for those who want to give their loved ones and friends Valentines at the high school. The students in the Art and Public Places class have been working with an artist in residence named Adam Swartz in the design and creation of puppets that will be used in Little Shop of Horrors, which, as I said, will be done in April. This experience is being funded by the AASD Foundation Educator in Residence program. Winter sports, including indoor track, boys and girls basketball, wrestling, gymnastics, and swimming, have all kicked off their seasons. And today and tomorrow, the basketball teams will yet again face off against holiday spread. The music department's annual Spring Spectacular will be held on February 28th from 7 to 9 p.m. All are encouraged to attend. That's in the auditorium here at the high school. On February 22nd, Mr. Krug and the Astronomy Club will be hosting another sky show at Fort Roberdeau. That's going to be from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. on the 22nd. And before we meet next, students will have off school for Teacher in Service on the 15th of February, President's Day on the 18th of February, and a parent-teacher conference. The reason for having school off on March 1st will be the parent-teacher conference. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll move on to the approval of minutes. If I could have a motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hooper. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Derwin-Adams. Comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the consent agenda, could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Segler. We'll go through this step by step. Anybody would like to point anything out, you're welcome to. List of payments, there may.
I have some questions. Check number 107364, LPN billing week. There's two different billing weeks there, and then there's another one further back. And this totals like 17,000. Are these substitute LPNs?
Our LPNs are coming through EES or ESS.
All of them?
Right.
Okay.
All of our, but if you remember, our LPNs are also hired through ESS. It's, help me out here when it says this.
Substitute. It's a source for teachers.
Source for teachers. Okay. So, what's the check number again?
107364. There's two there, and then further on down, there's one for 5,000. So like I say, it's over 17,000. But you're saying that is for the total cost of the LPNs. This is not just for substitutes.
That's the billing for the.
So they are not employees of the school district?
No, they're not.
Okay. I thought we were hiring, that's just for substitutes, but if that's the whole thing, then that's fine.
Okay.
On down on that same page, 307-374, Link Computer, spare laptops totaling over $43,000?
That wasn't just spare laptops. The full description of that would have been replacement teacher laptops, and then we purchased some to have as spares because we have no spare laptops for damaged units. I don't off the top of my head know exactly what the totals were of each item, but the majority of those were teacher laptops at elementary, special ed.
But these are not just spare laptops?
No. There were a couple spares purchased just so we have them in reserve.
Okay, and toward the end here, 107869, fish window cleaning?
Yes.
I thought our maintenance people took care of that.
No, the high windows at the high school and the junior high, we have a service do that. We've had a
Have they
service.
always done that?
Yeah, since I've been here, yes, ma'am.
Just since you've been here?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I have.
Good, Mr. Cruz.
Check, this is Dr. Prieto, 107387 for the Tech breakfast.
Right. That was the thank you for doing the dugouts.
Right, I appreciate that. I didn't understand there's a credit and a charge, but I think that's a great idea. Check 107468 for the painting of the locker room. I thought the labor was donated and now it's going to be material loan.
For the roof in the gym was material on
So we did approve this painting in the locker room, or that?
it came out of budget.
107487 for the sign down at the bottom. That was already approved. I mean, that's into that whole ordeal.
Right. And we received our first payment from Reliance Bank today.
Okay. 107489, deal and emergency purchase. Are we allowed to just know what that is, or should that be in?
What's the check number again?
107489.
Okay. Oh, this is shredding.
107489. That's because that it's due to those deals from Juniata for emergency purchase. I mean, I didn't know if we're allowed to know or not.
There was a family whose kind of was incarcerated and didn't have Christmas. So we just, the teachers went out and purchased what needed to happen for those children. And then she took it out of her 617 after that, which was our best number.
And then one other question, 107540, Mansion Park field lights for almost $3,000. Did we have functions going on out there at that time?
I would have to ask Phil.
It was November 27th through December 26th.
I
Lights near the tennis court, yes.
actually reached out to our
electric broker about that, because Phil and I kind of picked up on that last month. We're working on changing the way that that's billed to us. We have a demand average billing on the field lights at Yankee Park, and we're switching that around. This would be the last one at that high level.
Okay, because, you know, I'm waiting for the information on the lights. I contacted, you know, about that. So, I just think we spend an awful lot of money on field lights out there, and I'm gonna try to compare it to what we bring in that park. I mean, we spend a lot of money on electricity out there.
Well, in November, that was the playoff season, so that's when
No, I understand that, but almost every month it's $3,000 for lights, and this last month of December, I don't know why they would be on. I don't know why we're spending $3,000 out there.
I think in early December, we're still in playoffs.
The first weekend in December is the last week of football playoffs, so that's when we had the snow, and we had, 7 or 8 games on one weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know if that accounts for all of it, but there were games at that time.
We had a large number of games.
That's all I have.
I got one, page 15, 107740. I'm going to abstain from that, it's my wife. Thank you.
I do have one more. Well, I'd like to talk to you about it.
All right.
Any others on spends? All right, financial reports, item B.
I have a question on the investment report. Where does it reflect the money from the bonds, the proceeds from the bonds? Because it's my understanding you're investing that money and it's gonna offset what you have to pay for the bonds. So I don't see it on here. Maybe I'm missing it. It's not on there. I'll put it on next month's report. Okay, so it doesn't reflect here what is left of that money. But it is invested?
It is invested, yes.
Okay.
What is our capital reserve right now? Is that 60,481,000, is that it?
Capital reserve, the capital reserve's right in around it's between 6 and 7 million. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head.
Capital reserve is not fund balance.
Yeah, definitely, that's right.
I'll just make
That's fine.
Any others on financial reports? All right. Item C, workers' compensation, property casualty insurance broker. Comments, questions?
Why are we doing this? Why are we giving a broker of record letter to one broker? Because you're not gonna have any competition whatsoever when you put this out for bid, because you're limiting all the bids to one broker. Now, we had 2 brokers come in here the other evening. One was your incumbent broker and the other was a new one. And then we're told there's a third one that wouldn't bid. Is that why the third one isn't bidding, because they're being knocked out of all the markets?
The reality is, there are 3 companies who will give us a quote. They will only provide one quote for this district. Meaning they
That's
will
not just here, that's everywhere, yes.
They will, if we want to create a situation where we can actually compare the rates of the 3 companies, because the broker is not the company.
I understand
Okay.
that. I do this every day.
If we're to be able to compare and to mix and match, get the best coverage at the best price, we have to select one broker to get all the quotes.
That's not true. That's absolutely, positively not true.
I'm sorry.
I work with workers' comp all the time. When you put all your eggs in one basket, you get what they want to give you. You don't get your best price. You want different brokers going after different markets. That's why you don't do a broker of record letter. You don't just have one broker come in, because they have total control. You have no competition whatsoever. You need to let all of the brokers go out there, and yes, an insurance company is only gonna put one quote out for each customer. They're not gonna put 3 quotes out if you have 3 different brokers. But you should have brokers competing against each other. That's how you get your best price.
And I agree, Gary Gingrich wanted to talk this, I talked to him again. And you limited that by using your company, they use that closes the door for Gary to try to bid this project at this school.
Gary asked if he could quote Utica.
Right, and by you giving this letter, that
This
eliminated.
this
Right.
would, some of the feedback I got after the board meeting, I thought that the consensus would be that Gallagher was doing a good job. If we go with the different brokers, if Gingrich goes with Utica and Saline bids Liberty Mutual and Gallagher gets the quotes from CM Region, if Liberty Mutual comes in lowest, we have to go with Saline, and the broker that currently gives us the high level of service on school districts is out. If we go with Gingrich, I don't even know what experience they have. My understanding is no school district experience. If Utica comes in lower, and then we would have to take the lowest quote. So that was my recommendation based on some of the feedback that I had, that Gallagher was doing a good job, and they're going to put out the applications for all three, Liberty Mutual, Utica, and CM Region.
And you're gonna get absolutely no competition there, and you're saying Gallagher is doing this great job, but your experience, Maud, is over 100%. It's 1.12%, which is ridiculous.
We have some serious injuries and claims with various cafeteria tables, student injuries with SEA.
Students aren't on your payroll.
Students injured are employees who are on payroll.
What's your safety committee doing about that? There should be an accident investigation with every accident that you have. And your insurance company is not, obviously not helping you. I mean, an experience mod of over 100% is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And there are ways to get that mod down. Do you have a back to work program? Do you have a light duty program? Obviously, it's not working.
We just implemented it within the last couple of years, and we are getting people back to work. Doug's working on, he works with reduced schedules.
We bring them back, and that has been a change since I've been here, is that because I came out of industry, and it was always, you get them back to work as soon as you can. And so we worked on that over the years. We are doing that. If I may, as part of the safety committee, most of our accidents are students acting on employees. And some of those were very serious accidents, assaults in some cases. And that's where the mod is. It's not what you would normally expect, like being in the maintenance group or the custodial group, where they're working with machinery and tools and that type of thing. It's kind of like person-on-person things that are causing our accidents.
I work in a business where you're dealing with animals that are very unpredictable. And there are ways to prevent accidents, trust me. And my experience mod is 0.71. I mean, it can be done. And eliminating all your competition in your bidding is certainly not the way to do it. And what you're basically saying is we're going to set it up for our incumbent insurance company to win. And that's wrong. I will never vote for this. No one should vote for this. We need competition. And in fact, the company you have in here isn't even a local company. The other two companies that you're talking about are both local. They both pay taxes in this community. Their children go to school at this school. I mean, we need to get some real competition, and this is not the way to do it.
The reality is we need to get solid quotes from all three companies. They're only going to give you one number. They're not going to create a better number for Saline or Utica or for Gingrich. They're going to give you a number, knowing that they are competing against two other companies. And that way we can also provide the best service possible when we're talking about insurance at this level. When you think about what we've had to deal with CM Region over the past year alone, we need to have access to the best possible coverage at the best possible rate. If you have three different carriers, you basically create a situation where you can't
If you have 3 different bidders from 3 different carriers, now you can't cross over. You can't say, well, we're going to take this plan from this company because it's the best rate and the best coverage, and then take this plan from this company because it's the best rate, best coverage. If anything, it's going to cost us more money, and we're not going to get the kind of service we need to get.
How many workers' compensation policies do you have?
We're not just talking about workman's compensation, Sharon. When you're talking about all your liabilities, all of your equipment, all of your, anything that you would possibly have insured runs through this carrier.
You can have insurance, you can have workers' comp with one broker and your property and casualty with another broker. It is done all the time. And what you're doing is you are eliminating any competition whatsoever. Yes, each insurance company is only going to give out one bid for the Altoona School District. But if you give them to all the same broker, then they add their commission onto that. If they're competing with someone else, they may not add as much commission on. Trust me, I have seen it done time and time again. I've been doing this for 40 years. I know a little bit about this. And what you're doing is totally wrong. You are not going to get your best price what you're doing here.
I understand the situation and the system we're using, and it was designed to get us the best possible service, the best possible price.
It is not giving you the best possible price. There's no way it could give you the best possible price. No way. All your eggs are in one basket.
So are you pulling this, you want to pull this from the consent agenda and put it down into the?
Item G, photographic contracts. Item H, 2019-2020 school calendar. Item I, Plan Con Part H.
I had a question on that. So when I look over this, it looks like that the brokers, the underwriter, they got like $500,000. Is that true? When they sold our bonds, is that what this is about?
This is a total breakdown of all the fees. So
Yeah.
the underwriting fees, yes, $262,500 on the first bond issue and $356,437.
Right, so they got like $600,000 out there. There's the bond. So Carl's firm got $45,000. Is that correct? Is that you, Carl?
I gotta find it here, but I'll say yes.
So can we vote on that separate? Because I'm gonna vote no on all that.
Absolutely.
Pull that for
So we're going to pull item I, Plan Con Part H.
So, just to be sure, everybody on the board looked this over and understands that? How much money we spent out on that?
On plan?
Just, yeah, on the bond issues and everything?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in agreement with you on another one.
Well, just to be clear, this is what we're reporting to Plan Con. That's
So
what.
that's not what they made?
No, this is, the Plan Con, this is the act of us submitting what we have to the state.
Right, so
that we
what
get
I'm asking
reimbursed.
now,
I'm just-
okay, I see what you're saying, we're submitting that, but out of this breakdown, we paid them $600,000 to sell us the bonds, is that correct?
Yes. And the brokerage of the bonds, yes.
And we paid Carl $45,000, okay.
This form is necessary to get any reimbursement on the project.
Right, so this is
I
the
saw
form,
it.
this isn't expenditures.
Right, but it's telling me what we spent.
Right.
Right.
Okay, so item I is pulled, item J, Flight 93 grant. Item K, Teachers in the Workplace grant. L, PA Smart Target grant. M, PA Smart Advancing grant. I'm just gonna point out, I like the fact that we're going for all these grants. I think that's important, so good job, guys. Item N, elementary field trips. Item O, volunteers. P, use of elementary facilities. Q, summer STEM camp positions. R, Wilson reading system. S, secondary textbook adoptions. T, secondary education.
I have a question. What is the purpose of that survey? And it looks like you have to do the survey. You don't have a choice. The state chooses you and we have to participate in that?
Every school district participates in the pay survey.
What is the purpose? What do we get out of that?
We get the data as to what our students' tendencies are, what their participation are in certain at-risk activities, etc. So it gives us a snapshot of where the district is. We can also compare that to other school districts as to how we measure up in comparison as to our clientele or our demographics versus theirs.
Then what do we actively do with that information?
We take that information, work with our administration, counselors, teachers, when we're looking at services that we're providing to students as it pertains to what are the trends in their behaviors and attitudes towards schools, towards drugs and alcohol, social media, topics of the day. It basically gives us concrete information to compare to other school districts, other states, to look at what services that we're providing and how we can better meet the needs of our students.
And then do you gauge, if you make a change in the services that you're providing, do you keep track of that to see if it's working or not?
This is a biannual survey that we typically get the results for. I think last spring I shared with you folks, because this came up, the results had come up then, and at the time what's public is the state results. Locally we do get our results, and we do utilize our own results to look at trends and how our students and how their attitudes and beliefs are changing. And honestly, it's a big part of what we do from a counseling perspective and how we organize services through our student assistance program at all secondary and elementary levels.
Okay, but we actually, if we've made changes, we track that to make sure if it's working.
Absolutely, it's part of our guidance plan, so which we update on a regular basis. So as we update that, that's a direct reflection of the information we're getting from the survey.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about that as well. Would it be possible after that survey takes place that we get some sort of like, a presentation or whatever information you've learned from that?
It would just be a matter of whether the board wanted the local data is not public. Altoona data is for internal purposes. The state data is readily available on the website. I'd be more than happy to give you whatever information and walk you through our results.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Any others on item T? All right, item U, doctoral study approval. D.
What is our purpose in approving that? I mean, I read the study and I was a little bit shocked at what I read. What are we approving exactly?
We are giving permission for doctoral candidate Amy Bloomer from IU8 to work with our special education staff, particularly those that are working in the co-teaching model, voluntarily, if they would provide her information via a survey and interview for her doctoral study. It will give us, what we can get out of it is information about the effectiveness and perceptions of the co-teaching model for special education students and looking at the different instructional models and approaches for how we educate special education students. So we basically be giving permission for her to ask our special education staff if they would voluntarily participate.
Okay, so she is not complete, or that procedure is not complete, because what I read in that study was a little bit shocking to me.
Her proposal was complete. This is part of her study. This is going to be the data piece of her study for her dissertation.
Okay, will we get a copy of that when it's complete?
For dissertation?
Yes.
I can make sure that you do that, absolutely.
Okay, because that was very disturbing when I read in the information that she has in there that it's really not working.
And we can get into it more, but I know that we have a hybrid model, what we utilize in secondary, and we're actually in the process of revising our instructional approach with special education. based on research that we've been doing in terms of effectiveness of instructional practices and the model that we are using. We're looking at using an advisement model, and I can give you more information on that as we move forward. But that is the approach that we're looking at as well.
Okay.
This is independent. This is her independent information. She's just requesting permission to basically survey our staff.
Right, but she gathered information and we got a copy of that and it wasn't really good.
That information was not specific to Altoona, though.
No, I understand.
That's her
that.
independent research,
But
yes.
it seemed like it was broad-based. It was a large area.
It was, and co-teaching has been a model that has been, it's come and gone in terms of its popularity. We've utilized it effectively in a lot of cases at both the secondary, at both the junior high school and the high school level. But it is something that we're looking at in terms of how to best utilize special education staff to provide the maximum amount of supports for students to help them be successful. It's part of our ATSI study that we're doing right now, and that plan that we're putting together. We're actually meeting this week with folks in the IU to begin that process of that improvement plan.
And do we have a choice whether to use the co-teaching or use something else, or does the government say you have to do it?
No, we absolutely have a choice.
So we can change it?
Correct,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
The research you're talking about, in a doctorate situation, you formulate your questions, and hers is on the effectiveness of co-teaching. Then she goes out, she gathers all the existing data she possibly can that's relevant, and she tries to present both sides, the people who are for it, the people who are against it, data that's for it, data that's against it. And then she basically creates her 3 questions, which are her hypothesis of how she thinks it's going to turn out. Is it this, is it that? And now she's in the process of interviewing teachers who are in the field to find out what their opinions are, boots on the ground. Is this effective or isn't it? Do you see this happening, that happening, etc.? So a lot of her survey material comes directly from that big document piece that you read, which was all of her research, and then she sees how that's reflected by in this case the Altoona School District and our personnel.
Okay, yeah, I would like to see the results of that when she's done.
I'll request a copy of the dissertation.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else on item U? All right. Item B, WPK agreement with Bellwood Annex.
Is that, the per diem?
That's just all that.
Is that typical for everyone, every district that does that?
Every district pays the same rate.
Just out of curiosity, what do our kids cost? What's our kids per diem with Kimmel?
We don't charge our.
I know, what would it cost per student pay?
We know that if we have 2 to 4 kids coming in from outside, we basically break even with our overhead.
Are we charging like our cost per student?
Are we doing a back cost accounting?
What I'm asking is our cost per student higher or lower than we're charging the other districts?
We have to calculate that, because a lot of that's driven by the number of students in the program. But we can come up with a number.
I will tell you, comparably, when we send students to other placements, there are some placements that are comparable to what we're charging for AEDY. Some that are slightly higher depending on the level of care of the placement. But when we looked at comparisons of some places where we do send students, it's comparable. But it is a competitive rate to attract clients.
One of the purposes of setting that rate was we knew who our number 1 competitor would be, and basically we undercut them by about $5 to $10 a day.
Well, basically asking is.
Yes, this way they'll be able to send us children.
Bellwood has not. Bellwood had a recent need, and I worked with Mrs. Beard, their special education director, and actually it was a student that had relocated from Altoona to Bellwood who had been a part of our AEDY program. So they reached out for an agreement to be able to place a student in that AEDY program. To my knowledge, it's the only student they have in AEDY.
Okay, but if we're charging out of District 65, and it costs us 80 per day for our kids, I'm just asking if that's a reasonable cost.
It would depend on our enrollment at any given time. I think we could do a cost analysis based on staff. I know that when we looked at offering other local school districts the opportunity to send students, with the intent, as Dr. Priatel had said, if we could attract, 3 to 5 students at a minimum, we could, that program will become a break even. At this point, we've had last year and this year, more than that 5 number of students that we've been able to attract and maintain. Some of them are only 45-day placements. For example, we did 2 intakes today for 2 students from Spring Cove. They only need a 45-day placement due to a violation that they have to place a student out of district for 45 days. And we were a viable option for them because they can combine transportation because they already send students to us, which makes it an attractive option for those districts. We've had from every surrounding district, I believe, except for Claysburg at this point, at one point in time. Hollidaysburg uses us very regularly.
It also gives an opportunity for the kids in the 10th VOTEC to still do the half-day VOTEC and get the all-in at the same time, because basically they're here. I mean, it's, what, a mile over the hill?
Right. We have a really good working relationship with all the surrounding districts, and I think the program that we provide far exceeds any other program that we have access, which is, once again, something that's very attractive to surrounding districts, and what we're able to offer to our students.
All right, any others on item D? All right, item W, 2019 summer school proposal. Item X, secondary field trips. Item Y, athletic facility usage. Z, strength and conditioning.
What's that about? This isn't what they're talking about at the sheet center?
This is a proposal. It was requested that we see what the price would be to have a company come in to run the weight training program, to visit that strength conditioning program. And so this is an RFP to get us quotes. Instead of using our own personnel in quarters.
So are we just getting quotes? We're not locked into using anyone?
We're just getting quotes to see which would be the most cost effective and provide us with the best program.
And it's a mansion. That's one mansion.
No, this would be a mansion, but it's before school and after school lifting.
This is separate, Mr. Johnson, from our morning and that class. The strength and conditioning class is part of our academic program that is run by our instructional staff. This would be in addition to our seasonal training for our athletic teams, and would be run at the Sheet Center, but then also, once we have our new facility open, during high school as well.
So what time of day would this be with these, with this company?
Well, I think that would be part of their proposal, what services they're willing to provide, whether it be before school or after school, and for what length of time. I know we put some provisions in there, Sue, in terms of a minimum number of hours per week that we were looking at as part of the proposal.
I'd personally like to see a neutral strength training instead of just having what we have now. Just open it up, no favoritism.
That's the reason we're doing the RFP.
That's great. That's great.
I have another question, but no, it's probably, I don't know if this is the time for it, so I'll ask it, you can tell me when I get it. That lifting in the morning, you have to play 2 sports to do that, correct?
Right, that's actually an academic class. They get is it a half a credit or a credit for that course?
It's a full-year course.
It's a full-year course. It's a 1-credit course. It's run by our phys ed teachers.
Okay, but here's my question. I have a person I know who their grandson is not allowed to be in it because he plays hockey and football. Now, I understand you say hockey is not Altoona area sport, but he wears an Altoona High jersey. You announce it every morning on the news, at the school news, how the hockey team did, the Altoona hockey team. So I'd like to know why, basically, that's 2 sports, why he wouldn't be allowed to.
Ed, let us look into that.
Okay.
Because that's an individual situation, and it might be very easily rectified.
Okay.
And also, this is run by 2 phys ed teachers.
It's at least one phys ed teacher, and I believe Mike Adams is down there also. I don't know.
Mike is not certified phys ed, he's a certified athletic trainer.
He's a certified athletic trainer.
Correct.
Why don't we have two phys ed teachers down there?
Mr. Simonton is the other physical education teacher, and he has a hybrid schedule of high school as well as working at Kimmel on a daily basis. So that allows us the flexibility to be able to utilize him at Kimmel in addition to the high school, in addition to the lifting program in the morning. We do not have staff to be able to utilize our physical education staff in both locations. Plus, I feel like we benefit from having Mr. Adams' expertise in that way.
Well, we didn't get to item AA yet, and if it's part of the consent agenda, then. So do you want to?
I was going to go back and touch base on H.
That's one of the ones that pulled.
We're not pulling HHs.
Oh, no.
School count?
Oh, no, the plan fund part H is what you meant, right, or no?
No, I have H and I. I like to,
I is Plan Con Part H. H is the school calendar.
Okay, let's finish up going through AA, and then we can jump back if there's some other things to do. So, anything else on the strength and conditioning request? We all understand why we're getting that proposal, right? Okay. So we'll go ahead and go to AA, which is the legal drug testing services. Any questions or comments?
and that's for the athletes?
That one's for.
That's specifically for employees who may have a substance abuse issue.
And also the new teachers get new employees.
I can't speak to that, but I'm sure that if it ties together logically, it will be handled that way.
Thank you.
I just have a question on that, and it refers to essentially what Ron did there. This is for our employees, but with regard to our kids, it's the same procedure, right? They have a database of the kids, and that's how they randomly generate them, as far as who gets tested. Is that how that works for the kids as well?
Bryce,
Yeah.
are you involved with the random?
No, I am.
Okay.
I can
All right,
speak to
Lori.
it.
Speak to that.
Yeah, when we test in the fall, winter, and spring, along with the seasons of the sports. And we just I will get a copy of the rosters of students. For instance, now we're in the winter season, and then we just randomly choose students from that season that will be tested from each one of the sports.
Now, in the high school, it is done with a random, they do a random number generator, and that's between Phil and the principal. Because we needed to keep it as tight as possible.
The adjustment to that from when we had spoken in the fall. For our winter testing, there was a database created. Students were assigned a number. At that point, a randomizer generated numbers at the 10% level. And those numbers that were randomly generated were the students that were tested. There were no blind, there were no names included on the database.
Is there any reason we don't have the third party do that portion as well? That way nobody can say anything about the process. Like, we have them do that? Or is there an issue of privacy because of the kids?
It just becomes that much more complicated to be able to do a random drug test and say, okay, we're gonna set up to do a random drug test on Wednesday. Well, now we gotta put all this stuff together, we have to send it to them, and then they're gonna tell us who they're going to test. I mean, our administrators go through the process, do the random selection, and in that morning, those kids are gonna be passed to their test.
So this is only athletes that are being drug tested because it says drug-free workplace proposal.
We're talking about two different things here. Lytle is specifically aimed at substance abuse employees, and it's they administer or oversee what's the word I'm hunting for? The program to get them clean. Okay. The random drug tests, which I believe run through Health Force, the high school principal, the middle school principal, the high school goes through a randomization process. Every child, basically, all your sport kids are given a number. Say you've got 100 kids playing sports, so we have a number generator that generates so many numbers from 1 to 100.
then the first 10 numbers or the first 15 numbers, depending on how many kids are going to be tested, and they're the ones we just basically go back to the roster. Oh, 55, Bobby. 78, Susie. Boom.
So you're not doing a random for employees?
Not for employees, we're not.
You are doing pre-employment, correct?
We are doing pre-employment, yes.
Are you doing post-accident?
We are doing when we have, we're using Lytle to help us when we need to, if someone comes in and we suspect they're at work under the influence. So they're serving as our training program and our trainer to handle that. And likewise, you're correct, post-accident, we can request it. I'd have to look at the CBA to make sure that we're not violating the CBA, but you are correct, if there's an accident and we suspect it, yes, we're going to test.
So we're not gonna be doing randoms on our own employees? Because in this.
We are doing random.
Okay.
We can't. That's something that has to be marked.
And this agreement has not been, Brendan had sent some comments and the changes have not been included, and one of the pieces was we can't do random testing, so this will be revised.
Yeah, I think that's what threw me, because in here it talks about they keep a database of employees, blah, blah, blah.
This was their original, like their template, and.
This is still being reviewed and finalized.
Correct.
We need to get a program in place, Vital's quality program. We still have to negotiate the final boards of the contract, but we have an employee who needs to receive these services and we need to move forward.
So essentially, we're putting this in place as the generic one, just to get us by for now, and then we'll review it so that it's customized to us.
We are asking for approval pending solicitor. We're asking for board approval to enter into the contract pending solicitor approval of the contract to make sure we're representing our best interests.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Johnston. You want to back up to a couple items?
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. On H, I'm a no on the school calendar. One of the questions is Saturday graduation. Does that count as a day of school?
It would for the seniors.
Okay. And
We're not gonna have a Saturday graduation.
and also in August, 3 days of in-service. I believe that's a little much, and I'm a no on that. And on Plain Con.
Plain Con H has been
H.
pulled.
Okay,
It's been pulled for separate vote.
Okay, I got something on it. Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, so all of the remaining items on the consent agenda are all the items except for item I and item C. I being Plain Con H and C being the workers' comp, right? Anything anyone else needs?
And which one? Workers' comp?
That would be item C.
C.
It's the insurance, it's the
Yeah.
insurances.
Do you want to the calendar, please?
No.
I just want to, I just don't know.
Okay, so just, if you could just clarify that once we do the votes, all right, for your calendar. Okay, so all the consent agenda items, everyone in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed?
I'm opposed to calendar H.
Okay, motion carries. So I'll need a motion for item C, 2019-2020 workers' compensation and property casualty insurance program.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Second? Thank you, Mr. Segler. Does anyone have anything further to add on that particular item?
I'm just going to add, and I know you've heard what I had to say, but I want all the board members to please think long and hard what you're doing, because you are not going to get a competitive bid the way this is set up. You need competing brokers to do that. You cannot put all your eggs in one basket and expect to get competition. It's not going to happen. And yes, you can have your workers' comp separate from your property and casualty insurance. It's done all the time.
All right, now I'm going to ask the question on this because I'm not fluent with this at all. Whenever you have a broker and we talked about the brokers can deal with the same insurance company. So are we saying that if we have 3 brokers that we're asking for the quote from, those 3 brokers will go to the same insurance company, and the insurance company will not give all 3 a quote? Is that how that works or no?
That is how that works.
The insurance company will only give 1 quote per entity, meaning the Altoona area school district. And then when you look at the broker, the purpose of the broker is when you want the most experienced person or the most experienced company who deals with school districts on an everyday basis, which is the reason we are recommending Gallagher for their services. The reality is they will quote all 3 companies and therefore be able to get us the best blend and mix of insurances for the district.
But Gallagher uses, who's the insurance company? This Gingrich wants to use, who is it?
They actually put in submitted an application for us a couple of years ago with Utica.
Okay,
And-
so Utica will only give 1 bid,
Right.
and they'll only give it to Gallagher, they won't let Gingrich have that. They only give it to 1 insurance company.
They only generate 1 quote.
Right, but they only give it to 1 insurance company too, yeah. They won't let Gingrich have that quote.
If there's
Even
a
though
broker-
Gingrich might say, hey, listen, I don't want any commission in mine, I'm gonna be lower. He can't even give us a quote because he can't use Utica. It's going exactly to Gallagher, and that's it. We would have to release Gallagher or ask the Gallagher to be released, and then Gingrich could use Utica. But until then, he has no way to bid the project. So if they release that, then they say Utica is $1 million. That's what Gallagher gets, that's what Gingrich gets, that's what everyone gets. Then it's up to the insurance company themselves, how much commission they want, and how much kickback or help he wants to give the school, or give things to the school. So that's where we make out by using someone local.
So we had a presentation here with like 2 of the 3 brokers did their presentation. And essentially the pitch is on the services that they offer and how they're willing to accommodate us. So that's their pitch to us about themselves. So once we choose one of those guys, then the one that we choose then could go to all of the other insurance companies and receive a quote from them. They're not going to say, well, I'm Utica and I just don't like your brokerage, so I'm not going to quote it. Am I understanding that right?
But where's your competition then? Where do you have the competition to possibly get a lower commission and save the school district money? And to say that Gingrich or Saline does not have experience with workers' comp and property casualty is just, it's ludicrous.
Right, you don't save your money from the main insurance company, Utica. You save it from the local insurance company who's willing to cut his commission. That's where you save your money.
We were thinking in terms more on the school leader's liability, where we have the potential for large claims that are directly related to school districts. We already have 2 large lawsuits against us, and that's where we were looking to. That's where the experience with school districts and knowing whether to file this under school leaders liability or under general liability, that's where we can protect ourselves and save us millions of dollars from having someone who doesn't understand school districts come in and say, you should settle, or they don't plead the case appropriately. That's where, in my mind, the experience comes in. They have dealt with lawsuits against school districts, large school districts across the state, and they have attorneys on their staff who review what the claims are prior to determining which line of insurance will give us the greatest protection. And that's the piece that I'm the most concerned with.
First of all, your broker should not ever tell you to settle something, they have attorneys. The insurance company will do that, not the broker. They all have attorneys. They all specialize. If they're selling that type of insurance, that insurance company has attorneys to work with you if there's a problem. I mean, these are all companies that have been in business for many, many years, know what they're doing, and they're not out there just bumbling around selling insurance they know nothing about. They know what they're doing, trust me. I have dealt with companies that have dealt with different brokers over the years, and sometimes you have to do that. And in order to get your best price, you cannot protect one broker on all lines of business and expect there to be any competition. There is zero competition. And to say that there's one line of insurance because we're a school district they can't handle, I disagree with that. And talk to them. I'm sure they can come in and tell you what they can do for you. But you can't block everybody out and say, okay, now we're getting a competitive bid, because you're not. You are just completely not allowing anyone else to get a bid for you.
The ability to be able to quote and bid apples to apples comes from having one single broker who handles the same proposal to everyone.
No.
My recommendation, and respectfully I disagree, my recommendation to the board is that you go with Gallagher and we move forward with the insurance process.
How many years have you been working with insurance and brokers?
I've been through this process now 7 times.
I've been doing it for 40 years.
Well,
and I have dealt with many, many brokers, many, many insurance companies, never had a problem. We were able to switch because it's the insurance company that's going to make the decisions on a claim, not your broker. And your broker isn't doing very well by you with an experience lot of over 100%. They are not.
As long as we have workman's comp claims for when certain students decide to kick the shins of an SEA or some of our other special education needs that we have, we're going to have some mods, because that's the nature of the beast.
As long as PALs kick people, and they will, you're going to have claims. It's how you take care of those claims makes the difference in your experience mod.
Respectfully, I don't agree.
I have a track record that proves it.
I'll add a little bit to this too. I've ran a business, I've switched insurance companies to get better rates. And sometimes the lowest rate has come back and burnt me, because sometimes it just doesn't always work out. Sometimes it's the person that's selling it to you that really counts.
And you have 3 credible brokers, so I see no problem with letting them each come and give us a proposal.
But they were here to give us a presentation.
Well, one didn't show up because they were told that they didn't have a market.
That is not true.
That is absolutely not true.
And that wasn't true, that I invited him and he declined, Mr. Gingrich. I gave him the same,
He told you that you'd have to release that company so that he could do a fair bid, and you said you wouldn't release
I
that
said
company.
I said we had not, they have not put in any applications. He misunderstood. I said the same thing to Ray from Saline.
When I talked to him, he said that this company wasn't released, so he knew he couldn't quote it.
We have not put in any
About that,
applications, that's why.
Broker of records release, he couldn't quote it.
Did Gallagher go in and?
They have done nothing. They have not been approved to do anything. There's no blocking out of any market at this point. That's why I'm bringing it to the board.
But if they went to that company first, that company would block everyone else out until they got a broker of record letter stating that you want another company to get that bid. That's how it works.
And they have not submitted any applications this year on our behalf, and nothing has,
I'll be
nothing.
calling tomorrow. He told me he couldn't get a quote from Utica because Gallagher already locked it in.
And they probably did. They can do that without your knowledge.
What? Well, you call him. I will. Okay, call him tomorrow, get her again.
Anyone else?
This has to be thrown.
We have to do one.
Mr. Francis, you've been sitting there pondering, and I'm going to tap onto your past experience here.
You know, it's who Camilla's wants to work with, who she's comfortable with. You know, and someone made a statement that you know, you don't always get the best deal when you have the lowest bid. And, yeah, Camille's been working with this company how long?
3 years.
3 years, and they've been, you know, I think she's the one, if she's comfortable with what's going on, then she's the one that we should just trust with our judgment. And I agree with what you're saying, but, you know, Camilla does run that show, and I have all the confidence in her, so.
We take the vote.
I agree with it.
Has nothing to do with confidence in Kimmel, it has to do with getting a competitive bid.
But
which you're not
are you
getting.
gonna get?
Okay, let's call the question.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying let's get competitive bids first.
We'll go ahead and do a roll call.
Mrs. Breen?
No.
Mr. Segler?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Hippo?
Wayne?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
I just want to say, after the last committee of the whole meeting, I talked with Kimmel and how they've worked with this insurance company and Mr. Rendler, and they seem to be working good with them, so only yes.
All right, we'll go ahead and do a roll call on this, please.
Mr.
Oh.
Segler?
Oh, I'm sorry, did you have comments?
Excuse me, I have a question. On one of my PSBA reports in May 23rd, 2018, it says State Planning Con Advisory Committee releases a final report and recommendations. These are recommendations to be made to the General Assembly. Administrative process will be streamlined and submitted electronically. There will be a 10% bonus in the reimbursement formula for projects utilizing high-performance standards, meaning going green versus code construction. There will be a maintenance, repairs, and modernization project grant program with a 50% match from the school district. A new reimbursement formula, which will include factors such as per pupil amount, school building capacity, and a wealth factor. Payment. The state share cannot exceed 65% of the school's building project based on the above-mentioned information, and the payment will be 20 equal payments over 20 years. PSBA calls this a major improvement to PlanCon and strongly supports it. My question is, does our PlanCon reimbursement include these guidelines?
No, and the fact is that has never made it out of committee legislation.
Okay.
That's one more than a magazine article you mentioned a couple of.
I read that a couple of times, and that's from PSBA report, right?
As an artist, nothing happened.
Well, I know it is what it is, and everything's all rush around here, and if we would have waited a few months and gone green, we would have been better off.
Speaking of, we go.
Yeah, go ahead and vote on it. Go ahead, vote, that's enough talking.
All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Segler?
Yes.
Mr. Francis?
Yes.
Mr. Hippo?
Yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
No.
Mr. Cruz?
No.
Mrs. Breen?
No.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes, ma'am. All right, that gets us out of all of our consent agenda items. We'll move on to section 8, new business, please. Item A, mid-ed membership. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Segler. Comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item B, personnel items. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Give me a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Irwin Adams. Comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item D, District Administrative Offices. I need a motion, please. Oh, I'm sorry, they both say personnel, forgive me. Item C, please, personnel addendum. Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Irwin Adams. Comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item D, District Administrative Offices. I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Need a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Segler. Any comments or questions about this?
I have a question.
Mr. Cruz?
I would like this to be paid out of the new school money, because if we weren't building a new school, there'd be no reason to be getting new district offices. So I think that this is coming out of the wrong money.
I agree. If you want to take this money out of Plan Climate, I guess I don't know if it was eligible for Plan Climate, you can put it in Plan Climate.
District offices are not eligible for Plan Climate.
So we're gonna take it out of capital reserve, which has a balance, knows what,
I pulled it up way. The balance at the reconciled balance on December 31st was $6,420,223.
for capital reserve.
I'd just like to say that, we pulled this out of the school project because it was estimated it was gonna cost us between $4 and $5 million to put it in the school. And taking it out of the school, we saved the taxpayers $4 or $5 million. In exchange, we spent $710,000, so.
It's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily true, I disagree.
All right, if there's no more comments or questions, can we have a roll call on this, please?
Mr. Francis?
No.
Mr. Hippo?
Mr. Hippo on the DAO.
I'm sorry, yes.
Mr. Hoover?
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Johnston?
No.
Mr. Cruz?
No?
Mrs. Breen?
No.
Mr. Segler?
Yeah.
Mr. Brennan?
Yes.
You're gonna take out approximately $900,000 out of capital reserve, which should be coming from the new building money. It's figured in the new building money. And you wanna keep that money because in case for other things that might come up, is how it's brought up at the meeting. This $900,000 should come directly out of the new school money. It's just another way for you to possibly run over budget and use money from the capital reserve for this new school.
Mr. President.
Good, Mr. Hippo.
Not completely inaccurate. More business infrastructure purchase that was going into the vehicle. We're talking about hardware equipment that is 7 years old, and that was all next to the technology committee. This would otherwise be, if we were not doing construction, it would be going into the vehicle. The only thing that would be irresponsible would be to buy this stuff, put it in the new building, and then pay someone else to move it to the new building.
Correct.
We're talking about hardware here that is 7 years old, that in large part would be beyond its useful life, regardless of the project. So the responsible thing is to do it this way and move it over to the new building instead of either double installing it or damaging it or overhead. It's no different than if we were replacing any other hardware in the building, whether it would be televisions or Promethean boards or what have you. It's just a responsible way to do it instead of doing it twice.
Right. correct me if I'm wrong, you told us the other day at that meeting that this money was already figured into the new school money.
There's an allowance.
Right, how much is that allowance?
Susan, do you have?
Approximately 0.5, all right?
How much?
But that's for furniture and for technology.
How much is the allowance for technology in the new school?
Wayne, the motion on this calls for the new high school and new B, A building and a new B. It doesn't say anything about the old section. It doesn't say anything about the B building.
Well, I understand that, that's how it was worded,
Well,
but it wasn't explained that maybe I'm wrong.
Well, the thing is,
Like, this is hardware purchases, but for things that are 7 years old, but what is it replacing anyway?
that's fine, that's why you have a new building, so what you're throwing in capital reserve, you're taking $2 million out of capital reserve tonight. I'm just saying, you're taking $2 million out of capital reserve tonight that you're gonna have to use for an elementary school, roofs. That's what this is gonna go for. You're gonna lose all this money in capital reserve. Think people where you go. That should be coming out of the new building project.
Right, that's it. Part of that money, and Ian mentioned, she's looking it up, is directly in that loan that you got for the new school. So whatever that amount of money should be, should still come out of the new school money.
Yeah. That don't assume that all of this is what is covered in that line item. I don't believe that's the case.
We also passed the motion when we started the project, that we can then build this back to the construction project if all the funding works and it's allowed.
Right, because you're concerned that you're gonna go over budget, and if you go over budget, this is just another way to take another $1 million out of the taxpayers that should be coming out of the school fund and keep you under budget.
I just want to comment real quick, because we talked a little bit about this, I want to say, whenever the technology committee was first created, we talked about the equipment that we have in these buildings, and that as time goes on, they start wearing out. I mean, I know at my house, I've had those guys replace the modem, I want to say 4 times in something like the last 15 years, because it just wore out. And we had the same issues in here, and the discussion whenever the new building idea came about was, okay, what can we reuse? What can we, put off so that we're not installing it twice? So, I mean, some of this was discussed along those contexts. So it's not like I'm just saying it's not like it's a new thing that we're bringing this up and that there's some shifty kind of
No, it's a
thing
new
on
thing
the project.
It's a new thing that you're trying to take money out of capital reserve. You have money in the new school loan for this equipment. Use that money, don't take it from the capital reserve.
That there are allowances for multiple things, for soft costs, for furniture.
She's
for-
looking it up, so
Yeah,
if it's
exactly.
600,000 or 800,000, take that, and whatever the difference is, then take that from the capital.
Right, I'm not arguing about that, I'm simply saying that some of that stuff wasn't specified, okay, this is to buy new switches and new lines. That's not listed in there.
I'm sure you had a line item that says, technology. I'm sure there had to be a line item in the new school that says technology, correct?
Right, and I agree.
So that's the money you can take and not all of it out of capital reserve.
The soft cost budget shows,
Wait, actually, wait, give it 1 second, Sue's starting to talk. That's okay. Yes.
that the soft cost budget currently shows $1,150,000 for furniture, fixtures, and equipment, $750,000 for technology and security, for a total of $1.9 million to be used.
Right, so that 750,000
Right.
should come out. And then if you need more money from the capital reserve of 200,000, I guess we'd vote on that. But I don't see why we're taking the whole 1.1 million with a 25% discount or an E-rate discount, which comes out to like $900,000. We should be taking 750,000 out of the new construction and then worry about the rest here in this corner. Because that's just another way of $750,000 of taxpayer money being funneled into the new school in a roundabout way.
It's actually 1.9 million because she has equipment listed on a different line and then she has technology on another line and she added the two together and it became 1.9 million. So the whole amount could be taken out of that.
Well, then I agree. None of
The
it should-
technology was separated. I agree with what he's saying there, but that's, the 750 could take that off that.
Go ahead, Mr. Kimmel.
I'm simply saying that the technology line items have to be looked at as more than this purpose. The portion of this is dealing with hardware would have been replaced anyway. And there's an awful lot of technology going specifically created in the school, which my understanding is the line item is school. So we're dealing with new technology in the new school. And yes, there's a line item to it. But I'm stressing that an awful lot of these hardware purchases are replacing things that have been there for years that we have to replace.
And that's why we put $750,000 in the new school. That's why that money is there to use, because it's more out, but it's in the new school money, not coming out of the capital reserve. You can spend it however you want, but it's wrong.
I'm not spending anything there. I'm talking about something that's been there for years that we would be replacing anyway. If we're going to be responsible and actually upgrade and replace things instead of kicking things down the road.
That is exactly why you have that money in there. Take it out of the new school money, not out of the capital reserve.
And you may have to replace some technology in this building, but not necessarily all of it. But if you have a new building, you're going to be replacing all of it. So I think that's wrong.
I guess, is there, when you were talking about technology as far as the line items and everything, I mean, I'm sitting here thinking, well, what's the difference? Like, do we have, why couldn't we just use the 750,000 out of that? And then if we have other technology needs, have that come out of, you know, your budget for technology?
I think part of it has to do with what is appropriately used out of capital reserve. I mean, Camilla and Susan, you can speak to that. The infrastructure items that we're looking at here would definitely be appropriately used out of a capital reserve account, where there may be other things, like for instance, that money is also to cover security. I do not know for sure what the situation is, for instance, with the cameras for the new building. If those were not included as items that are a part of the contract, that may be, and Mike, maybe you can address that. If we're buying cameras, was that expected to come out of the allowance as well?
Okay, what was, go ahead, Wayne, what were you?
Did
you need him to?
I don't think any of the money should come out of this, and then if you run out of money, come back to the board and see if we approve any more money for the stuff. At this point, you have money built into the new scope for this, that's where it should come from.
Right, we can only use capital reserve for certain things, and I get that, but we'll use it anyhow for, you know, like paying quote unquote the mortgage essentially.
Not the capital reserve. If Penn Lincoln has a problem with their computers, it goes there. You're not taking capital reserve in the general fund. You're not doing that, it's illegal.
You can't do it, no.
So, and I hate to confuse this anymore, but, and Susan, I apologize because I didn't catch this earlier today. Just so there's no misunderstanding, the bid that we would be accepting is for $1,249,043.80. The $100,000 shown under additional licensing, that is a savings in years 6 and 7. We will not have to spend that. It's actually $134,000. We got the actual numbers late this afternoon. We are saving that money in years 6 and 7. That's beyond the E-ratable portion of what we're doing. So it's really $1,249,043.80, and then we will get a discount of $262,900 on that from E-rate.
Yeah. Can we, whenever you speak, can you hit the microphone?
Okay, sorry.
Hey, Bryce, what is this for anyway? I mean, I know
This is all of the wireless access points for the new building and for the reconfigured A building, as well as all of our switches. And it's also all of the necessary core switching because we're moving our data center into the new building. So that's everything to basically control its access to the entire network around the district, as well as internet access from the outside. So it's a hefty amount of technology. The retail price, the list price on what we are getting is actually $2,729,000. And the state contract pricing is $1,560,000. So we're way below even state contract on what the bid came in. So it was we got a pretty good deal for what we're getting.
I don't know that the debate's even on that, it's just where the money was.
Where the money's right. We don't care, we admire what you're doing, but where the money's coming from.
And it sounds like it's all infrastructure anyway,
For the new school.
so that's where it should come from.
Pretty much, I agree.
It's infrastructure purchases that would be made either for this building or the new school regardless. We're going to need to upgrade all of this infrastructure as far as the APs, the switches and all the wiring. Yes, it's going into the new building, but this is past its useful life to begin with. This was an expense. This is an expense we would have incurred regardless of building a new building or not building a new building.
No, you have it figured into the new building loan now. Take the money out of the new building loan like you're supposed to.
It's part of the new building. We need to know exactly what the new building is gonna cost us when we get to the end of this thing. And if we're over, we know why then.
All right, so, we're gonna have to vote on it as it stands, unless this gets amended somewhere along the line. And the point of contention, just to review, is where this is coming out of the account. You know, what account this is coming out of, whether it's the new school budget, whether it's capital reserve.
Call the question, please.
Yes, sir. So, let's go ahead and do a roll call on this as it stands. And just so I'm clear, just so I understand this, the $700 and some thousand that's in there, you know, we could use it for this, and then the remainder could come out of capital?
We can only use infrastructure expenses out of the capital reserve account. So, for example, the smart TVs, or, and I'm just giving examples, the phone system, those types of things, computers cannot come out of the capital reserve fund, nor can they come out of the capital, they can't come out of the capital reserve fund. Only infrastructure improvements such as these are eligible to come out of the capital reserve fund, which is why we designated or put these monies here. And to Attorney Beard's point, should we have funds remaining from if at the end there's funds remaining, we can reimburse the capital reserve fund from capital projects.
But if you don't, the money's already gone, and the taxpayers are out that much more money. I can't say enough, this money's already in the loan, use it.
Capital reserve funds don't get to that.
Let's go ahead and go to the roll call.
Be clarified, she
Oh,
said we
I'm sorry.
can't, we cannot use the $750,000 because that's not part of infrastructure.
That's not what she said.
No, she said we could, but we can't take, like, say we need other equipment down the road for the new school, we can't take that out of capital reserve.
So this has a possibility, though, of putting this school above $88 million. We spend the 88 plus this $1 million, and then we're over $88 million. Some people didn't want to spend over $88 million.
I think it's still too early to be able to make that.
Right, you guys are shuffling around, but the point you were trying to make, Sue, was essentially that if you take it out of this pot, you can replenish that pot, but you can't do it the other way around.
Correct.
All right. All right, roll call, please.
Mr. Hippo.
Yes.
Mr. Hoover.
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Johnston.
No.
Mr. Cruz.
No.
Mrs. Green.
No.
Mr. Segler.
Yes.
Mr. Francis. Mr. Brennan.
Yes.
President, I just got one question. So on all this technology equipment. Is this going out to bid?
Already did.
Okay, so, do I have a motion for item G, career link lease?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Segler. Comments or questions? This is why Jen stuck around for the night. Thank you, Jen. All right, all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, library folks, for hanging out just in case we need it.
And nobody yelled at you once.
No, not one.
All yelled goodbye.
All right, item H, construction change orders. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Segler. Do we have any comments or questions about it?
I do.
Mr. Cruz?
So, on, the pipe and fittings, is that the condensate pipe and fittings, J.R. Reynolds? Is that the letter I got right here from Reynolds saying that KCBA is at fault on that for $26,000?
It is an omission.
Yes.
You're omitted off the drawing.
Yes, apparently the plumbing engineer did not catch that we needed condensate lines off of the 5 or 7 mini split units. So that was an oversight or an omission.
On KCBA's part, at this point, I mean, we have the letter from Reynolds stating the same thing. And I say it every time, I hope that at the end, that we somehow fight to get our money back on some of these change orders. You said Delta Creek Tower, are you accurate at 153,000 for unstable soils?
That's what's been approved so far. And there's approximately 12,000 that has not been committed.
Who did the test holes at the site? What company was that?
That was Mountain Resources, Mountain Research.
And can we hold them responsible for anything since they found nothing and we have all this unstable soils?
We would have had to deal with the unstable soils whether they had found it or not. The reality
But
is,
it would have been in the bid then.
in order to find all the unstable soils, we would have had to have dug the field up and basically put the foundation in prior to bidding.
The borings did indicate some unsuitable soils. I don't know to what extent without going back on the results.
Okay, well, I didn't know that.
I believe way back when I remember I showed you guys the map of where we did the test borings. And in that same presentation, there was some language in there that did call out unsuitable soils in certain areas of the ground. Whether they flagged them all, I don't know. But there
We
were-
talked about this very topic because you showed us how they dug the holes and how many more they would have had to dig to show the amount of unsuitable soil. Yes, I remember that meeting.
Okay.
I don't remember you stating that they had found some unsuitable soils.
Was that the same meeting where you had the map and then had all the dots for the?
Yes, and it showed that all but 7 of the test bores that we did were for that side of 6th Avenue. Yeah, that was all part of that whole.
So change order 108, was that owner requested?
Yes, yes, it was.
Those are additional doors.
Okay, there was an alternate to replace the exterior doors, and there were just a pair of doors and then another single door that are not used on a regular daily basis. You know, it's not an original access door. Those were not included in the alternate, and the district has requested it.
Okay,
Yes,
so
sir.
that's another change here. Now, and I guess that's what we've been doing, voting on tonight, is we're doing the owner change on that. Is that correct?
Well, okay, that has been, we've issued a revised RFP for that, trying to get that cost down. There's some glazing involved in that, and that's where most of the cost where a large amount of the cost was coming from, so we revised the RFP to ask them to reprice that differently, and hopefully we can get that down.
The next one, 109, I know we talked about this. Should that have been caught though by KBA, the different codes that the city requests or now? I mean, they're building in the city, you would think they know the city's codes.
Well, what happened, if I may, the city approved all these substances, the nail boards, the base insulation, the city approved all of that. Then they outsourced it to MDI. MDI then called it, said this is not the code by MDI standard. MDI didn't come into this until the permitting process, when they finally went through the entire project.
That's all I have.
What was the reason for the request for number 108 with the doors?
There were several doors that were left out of that ad alternate. There were 35 or 40 doors on that ad alternate. These are the ones, correct me if I'm wrong, Gary, underneath the bridge on 14th. No, not those. There's one out back where we keep the Bobcat.
There's the pair of doors that go in underneath the pool, which is your code.
Right, and there's a pair of doors at the pool. And they were like, the other 40 exterior doors would have been replaced. These have not been, were not included. So it's like, well, there's all, they haven't seen quite as many cycles as the rest of the doors, but let's get a price on now. And this came in at 15,000, but the doors that we're replacing, they don't have any glass on them. So we're thinking that, we'll get a substantial savings by cutting out glass in these doors that are just a service area.
Exactly the same door there. And that's not the way the price of it is, so hopefully that can come down.
All right, thanks.
Okay, and then also, just for the record, change order 110 for the additional foundation break piping. We have worked with the contractor on that, and that is going to proceed as T&M not to exceed and material not to exceed. So we could see a savings there. No idea how much, but we did ask him if it did proceed under that aspect, so we can track it and hopefully realize some savings there also.
And just to be clear too, referring to the bottom below your list, so out of our 2.3 million in allowance for that, we've essentially earmarked 1.4 million, and the total that's actually been, put forth is 847,000.
I build things out of your numbers.
I'm just looking at that. Thanks.
Go with your strengths.
My wife and me left us a checkbook, so.
All right, any other comments or questions? Roll call on this, please.
Mr. Hoover.
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Johnston.
No.
Mr. Cruz.
No.
Mrs. Green.
No.
Mr. Stegler.
Yes.
Mr. Francis.
No.
Mr. Hippo.
Yes.
Mr. Brennan.
Yes. Item J, can I have a motion, please? Capital reserve list of payments.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hoover. Now a second. Thank you, Mr. Stegler. Comments or questions?
I'm going to be a no on the tennis courts.
We'll go ahead and just do the roll call and specify that down.
Mr. Johnston.
No.
Mr. Cruz.
No on the tennis courts. Yes on everything else.
Mrs. Green.
No on the tennis courts also.
Mr. Stegler.
Yes.
Mr. Francis.
No on the tennis court.
Mr. Hippo.
Yes.
Mr. Hoover.
Yes.
Mrs. Irwin Adams.
Yes.
Mr. Brennan.
Yes.
5-4 against the tennis courts. Unanimous on the other.
Wait, no.
5-4 for the tennis courts.
I'm sorry, I said backwards.
Ron was a no.
So the tennis courts get one more coating on there, is that correct?
They're gonna finish the surface, and basically finish the job this spring.
Alrighty,
I'd like to make a motion on something.
Fire away.
I'd like the motion that we start all meetings on time. If we have an executive session that's gonna run late, I think that we should go back to it after the meeting. We have people sit here, taxpayers come in and wait for the meeting to start, employees who would love to go home. Just because we run late in executive session, I'd rather see us come down, have the meeting and finish the executive session after the meeting starts. I mean, I would like all meetings to start on time, but mainly the board meeting to start on time. So I motion that.
Second.
Mr. Francis seconds it. Comments or questions or discussion?
Is there any legal aspect to doing that?
Just means if you're in the throes of something, you have to be here by the start of 7 o'clock.
I'm cool with that.
Or whatever. We have a week on the
Edit stuff like that.
But then there's no.
I just wanted to make sure there wasn't an issue with us going into executive session after the meeting.
We've done that
You
before.
can do that, and of course, if it's action to be taken, you would say, we'll be back, or no action to be taken, we won't be back.
Because, I mean, we have, people filming, students filming who would like to go home. I just think that we should start on time, and if we're not done with the executive session, go to it afterwards.
I agree. Out of respect for the people who show up to hear what's going on here, I think we should be on time.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. All right, we have some more information only items. Any comments or questions? I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Yvonne.
That was an add-on agenda item for the month.
Yes. You're absolutely right. So, can we just go ahead and go back and do that? Public comment on? Okay. Would anybody like to comment on that particular add-on agenda item?
What's the item?
It's starting on time.
I second
All right, so we have to technically revote again. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Comments or questions about information only items? Employee unions response? I'm not seeing anyone. Middle management? And solicitor.
Just I'll be here on February 15th for in service, and then in March, going down to NSBA in Philadelphia, and presenting on the topic of dealing with difficult, dangerous students for school board members all across the United States. Last time we had about 340, hoping to get the same amount of number.
Thank you, sir.